Good, so we'll start with your name.
Okay. My name is Suzanne Matale. I'm the General Secretary of the Council of Churches in Zambia. We are wonderful partners with the United Church of Canada, and we have enjoyed this partnership for a very, very long time. So it's always a joy to see, to receive, to speak with somebody from UCC.
It's a joy for us to be in partnership as well.
Yeah.
You were saying today that the Council of Churches has issued a statement, a public statement with regard to mining, and I'm wondering if you could say a bit about who the statement, it's a joint statement, so there are others involved in issuing it, and if you could tell us a bit about the context for mining in Zambia, and we'll talk about the statement after that.
Okay, fine. Yes, as a Council of Churches in Zambia, we are actually deeply involved in the issues of mining in this nation, issues of investments in this nation, and we're also concerned about generally about extractive industries in this country. And our involvement as a Council of Churches is motivated by the effects that mining brings along on the people of Zambia. And our concern also is that people of Zambia are challenged by the high levels of poverty. And so we act as watchdogs to ensure that their lives are not further made miserable because they are having to go through challenges that are created by people who might want to come to our nation purely to extract our wealth and to damage or degrade our environment, displace people from their ancestral homes, and also not pay them proper compensations. So really we are placed at a very vintage point in terms of bringing issues out to the public and to the government, and bringing the people's issues out in the open so that those who have the instruments of power can take note and do something about it. So our involvement in the mining issue is based on the fact that we believe that we are not really benefiting from the mineral wealth, in that those who come as investors always expatriates all the income generated, and I think there's an issue of evading tax. They're not willing to pay the tax that is due to the nation, so that this tax can be used for provision and delivery of social services to the people. We are suffering under the burden of poor infrastructure. We are suffering under the burden of poor hospitals, poor educational facilities. We have very poor road networks in this country, and we believe that from the mineral wealth that we own, because God placed it here in our country, we'll be able to enjoy the fruits of those mineral wealth, even though we do understand that when one invests, they want to make a profit on their investment. And we do not have a problem with that. But all we are saying is that pay what is due, because we want a win-win situation. We are looking at a 50-50 arrangement where the investors are happy and the nation of Zambia and its people is happy.
You mentioned Christian Aid having done some research about the amount of aid that comes into countries and the amount of income that goes out of countries where there's mining. Can you say a little bit about that research?
Oh yes, the research done by the Christian Aid reveals that actually there is more money that's coming out of the developing world than what is coming in as aid from northern countries, European countries, America, US, and all those countries that give us aid. Because according to their research, an amount of, give or take, 160 billion US dollars is siphoned from the developing countries into European countries, and we are told this money goes into tax havens. And also we are told that if we compare that to the aid that comes in our countries, 3 times, the money that goes out is 3 times what comes in, because only 60 billion US dollars come to our developing countries per year, compared to the 160 billion that gets out.
Good. And the call today in the press release, specifically, what are you calling for? What are you hoping for? Is it as much a message to the people of Zambia as it is to the government, as it is to potential mining companies? To whom are you mainly speaking?
Yes, particularly in this statement, although we have issued other statements on different topics, I think our call was to a cross-section of people. Yeah. We were calling on the government to do certain things because we are concerned that the political environment is becoming very violent, and we want to call on the government to ensure that the violence does not escalate in this nation, especially towards by-elections. And we have had recently, and we're going to have more by-elections soon. And normally there's a lot of violence, misunderstandings and tensions between parties and their members. We're also calling on the church not to relent, to speak the truth, to preach the true word of God, because it's only the truth that will set us free. We are calling on the church and the church leadership not to fall prey to intimidation and not to fall prey to enticements that they might be subjected to, so that they use their pulpits for partisan politics. We are urging them to make sure that whatever they do, whatever they say, they are impartial, because we as a church are non-partisan. We do not support any party, because we believe that people are free to join any party of their choice, to express themselves through those parties. So it is not for us to tell them what's good for them in terms of who they associate with. We want our members to enjoy their freedom of association, freedom of participation, responsible freedom of speech. So the message to the church actually is that we should stick to our principles, to our issues of fairness, issues of love, issues of justice, issues of peace, and issues of sharing, forgiveness, honesty, accountability, transparency. These are the issues that belong to our pulpits. So we are telling the people not to be afraid to tell the truth. We are also appealing to other civil society organizations, because this country needs them now, even more than ever, because we want a citizenry that is educated, well-informed, and I think civil society has this huge task to ensure that they bring to the knowledge of ordinary Zambian people about issues of civic education and the importance of good governance, issues of voting, issues of making their own independent choices based on their own independent consciences. So these are the issues that we are calling on different stakeholders in the nation. But we have also given a very strong warning, if you like, I'm using very strong words here, to political parties to make sure that they dialogue, they speak on national issues. We are not saying they will agree on everything, but we are saying that we must bring sanity on the political scene, where if there's a difficult issue, difficult matter, they must be willing to sit, to discuss, to agree, to disagree in an amicable way and move on, because we are all Zambians. And Zambia is our own country. We can not afford to let this country go up in flames because of expediency and impunity of our political leadership. We do not want that. And we don't want people who want to entrench themselves with power and yet do nothing for the people of Zambia. We don't want people who are only set on gaining political power and political leverage for their own personal, gain. That we do not want. And this message actually we have always brought to the fore. We have told ourselves that we are not giving up. We will continue to bring this good message on behalf of the people of Zambia, on behalf of the faithful people of Zambia. We were also addressing the issue of the media, because I think the media also adds to the confusion that is going on in this nation. Because we find that media is divided into many different parts. Some are propaganda instruments for the government. Others are on the other extreme, on the opposition. And it's very difficult to decipher from our media today the real truth and the state of our nation, because they report in such extreme measures that it's difficult to find the balance. So our appeal is that they should stop to demonize leaders, because we've seen a lot of hate speeches in our newspapers. We have seen insults in our newspapers, one against the other, finger pointing. We are calling the media also to some level of sanity, where they are going to tell us what is happening in a fair manner. We realize that some newspapers have editorial policies, but I think even in those editorial policies, they could do something good for the nation by informing the nation in a balanced way, without fear and without favor. So we are calling on to stop demonizing people, whether they are those in the party, in the ruling party, or those in the opposition, because we have seen that, and it's very ugly. We cannot afford to always, make people look like demons, because we are all human beings and we deserve respect. If I disagree with you, you have no right to demonize me. The only right you have is to respect me and to allow me to express myself the best way I can.
It's a powerful statement to be making on this issue of mining, which internationally seems to be causing great discord in many countries between mining companies, governments, and the local people, local leaders, and a faithful message to be sending in this, if I'm correct, Zambia's Jubilee year.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming into its 50th year.
That's right, very soon.
So a Jubilee message too about a kind of faithfulness and a promise of the land for the sake of the people that is important for the sake of the future of Zambia. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important that as we prepare to celebrate, if you like, the Jubilee, we reflect back on who we are and where we have come from, and what it is that we want for our future, the future of our children and their children after them. It's also important to really search our souls in terms of bringing to our realization that people are people and they're meant to be equal regardless of who we are and where we come from. And we need to start to treat each other with respect, because life is sacred. We people of faith believe that every life is precious, and there's no life that is better than the other. And that is why we need each other to ensure that if you, as a human being, want to live better, just know that everybody else wants to live better like you. And now the message that I would like to just share with all those who care to listen is that wherever we are, we need to bring issues of justice, peace and development to the fore. We have seen many times how other people don't care for other people. We have seen in countries where mining is taking place how people have suffered, the diseases that they have acquired, the death that come out of pollution as a result of those mining activities. That is why in our campaign and in our advocacy we are saying, if we have investors who've come from Canada, for instance, I think our expectation will be that while we fight our own battles here with our own governments, I'm sure people of faith, because there's no boundary when it comes to faith. We are all people of one faith, one belief, that in your own areas you can be also challenging the powers that be in ensuring that these people who invest in our countries, they must be held accountable in their own countries, accountable to very high standards that they will be required to conform to in their own countries. The difficulty we find is that when the investors come, the mining companies come to our countries, they don't care whether they pollute our land or not, as long as they're making their profit. They don't care whether they give us our tax or not, because our own law, our own policy frameworks are very weak, so they tend to take advantage of that. Because we've heard of some investors when we have asked them why they're doing what they're doing, and their answer rightly is that we are following your policies. That is why ours is to make sure that all archaic laws which do not work for us, which do not work for a better life for our people, are reformed, that they are recrafted and brought up to speed to respond to the needs of the day to day, rather than sit there and use policies that don't work for us, which investors are taking advantage of. Because you cannot take them to any court. They'll say we've done what the law has said. And we have found in our own research that our laws are very weak indeed. And so we need to do something about that. And therefore, it's just an issue that concerns all of us. Because, you are, because we are, and we are. Because you are, you have heard of the Ubuntu philosophy. And that is very important. It sounds simple, but I think that's where we're going to be as a nation and as a world, especially as we live in a globalized world. If we had the way, we would say we will save our own relationships with everybody and just live our own backward way as Zambians, but we cannot do that anymore because we live in this small village. And because we do, we cannot avoid each other. We just need to find a way of coexisting in a manner that promotes good life for everybody, in a manner where everything that I do, everything that you do, is for the common good.
And I hear you sending a message to partners based on Ubuntu, that where partners are in a country where there are mining companies, that there is work for us to do as partners there as well.
Yes. That is my strong message to our partners. And let me add to that message of appealing to our partners to help us, or to indeed help themselves, as it were, in ensuring that we all win in this situation by getting involved in advocacy work, is also to say, on a fair note, how wonderful, for lack of a better word, we have enjoyed partnership with the United Church of Canada. Because since I have been involved in this work, I think our partnership has been based on mutual principles of respect of each other. We know that we do not have that much resource, but you've never taken advantage of disrespecting us because of that. The United Church of Canada is one of those few partners who have actually come out. You have braved from all these stringent conditions which make it difficult sometimes for us to operate. But we have to oblige and comply sometimes from many partners because we need the money if we are to move on. But United Church of Canada has been exceptional in treating us with respect and dignity and accepting that we are people who are able to be trusted to do that which we promise that we will do. So the message to United Church of Canada is that they should never relent because our partnership goes beyond financial resources.
Indeed.
You have been involved in a lot of advocacy work, and for that we are very grateful. Please go back and tell all concerned that we do not take this very lightly and we are not taking it for granted. I can only encourage you to continue rather the good work that you're already doing, because we still have much to do, much to achieve.
The partnership's important to us as well, and it's the basis for a great deal of hope as Christians in the world, and it's the basis for a great deal of learning. I think that maybe sums it up in so many ways, that together we learn about being in the world and bringing about the kingdom in similar contexts and in extremely different contexts as well. But we do that together and learn together about how that happens. Yeah. And it's an integral part of God's mission that we do the work together.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you know, this discussion also reminds me of the wonderful work that you yourselves, as UCC, have done in terms of the struggles of the indigenous people in Canada. We hear and we read about the exceptional work that you have done in terms of ensuring that indigenous people are treated with respect and that the Canadian government realize that there are some things that were done to indigenous people which must either be reversed or good made about those issues. Yeah. Yes. So, you have done a great work, and we know about that, and we hear about it, we read on it. So you're not only just helping us out here, but you're also helping us over there. Right. And I say us because we are all people under one God. And what happens, if one part hurts, the whole body hurts. So I can only encourage you to continue to do the good.
And so may it be so.